before Inside Nollywood came about, if anybody really wanted to write about the industry, they needed to pitch to a foreign media. That's the only way that you could get like the story of a filmmaker told. We have a journal called The Industry. It's the first time that a non-Nollywood stakeholder, in the sense of, say, a producer or a production house, has put together data projections like McKinsey and stuff for the industry and has distributed it as widely as we have. So every exec across different platforms that operate in the country has a copy of the industry. It's wild. Like, it wasn't something that anybody had thought about before now. Maybe they thought about it, but they never really executed it. We also introduced the concept of having real-time conversations about the industry. Before Inside Nollywood, the industry used to be so closed off and people were afraid of being blacklisted. They're still afraid of it, but a lot more conversations that are bold are now being had. In March, I think, or February, we had a conversation on horrible bosses in Nollywood. It was a 3-day conversation split into several parts where over 20,000 people, half of whom operate within the space, the film space, came to talk about the things that they didn't like in the space. And what happened afterwards, so it wasn't just about the conversation, it was the ripple effect. So people came and said, we don't like this about the industry, we've been treated poorly, we've not been paid our wages, we've not been given due credit. And in the following weeks and months, we followed up, and basically people that were not giving credit were giving their credit, people that were being owed money were paid their money. And somehow it opened the industry up to seeing the power of dialogue, the power of just coming out to say, hey, this is wrong, this is something I want to talk about. There was a culture of silence that did not allow that happen, and that sort of is like fading away, because people know that people threaten their producers now with, oh, we'll go to Inside Nollywood and tell them. Like, it's such a fascinating thing. I mean, you come now every week and you're seeing like spaces on Nollywood. It wasn't that way when we started doing spaces. I think the first time we ever had a space, we had like 15 people in it. And then people were like, you know what, this is not going to go on. Like, why do you want to talk about Nollywood? But now everywhere you turn, somebody is posting a space on Nollywood. And it brings us so much joy because it has democratized the process of talking about the industry, where it's not just about writing a review. It's about telling the filmmaker, this is why your film was not liked. It's about bringing the numbers, bringing the data and saying, this is what the audience thought about your film. And now the biggest project that we have currently is the training of journalists in the sector. Training was almost non-existent for people who wanted to operate as journalists in the sector. So what used to happen was that people would just pick up hobbies, and that also led to the way that they were respected, in the industry. So you come and say stuff to a filmmaker and he's asking you, where do you get off, talking to me like that? Because he clearly knows that there's no pipeline for you to get that sort of training. But now we're working on a couple of profiles for filmmakers and people who operate in the space that we feel like nobody has really captured the essence of their artistry. And that's something that is taking like the life out of us. But the moment that we do this, we know that it's going to open these people up to their audience better. It's not just them coming on the space, but it's like written record. Anybody can access it at any time, and stuff like that. So these are a couple of ways that Inside Nollywood has sort of changed the landscape, or as the filmmaker said, shaped the culture, and we're still shaping the culture.